Hi, welcome to the channel today. And today we're going to be talking about the 10 different trees that I've planted in the past that I'd never planned on planting again. Ones that just hasn't worked. I know it's not going to be a real popular video because people don't want to hear what they shouldn't plant. But you know, I think that's important. I'm not saying no one should plant these trees. I'll tell you why I'm not going to plant the trees. Everywhere from, you know, with taste to not adapted to whatever. But you know, and you guys kind of hear it live. First tree I'm going to talk about, the tree that people plant a lot of, is called the Japanese plum. This Japanese plum tree here, it's a Santa Rosa plum. I've grown some other plums also. They just never produce. This thing's 12 years old. I don't think I've gotten 5 plums off of it that actually ripened. Now, last year it did produce some plums and brown rot really took it over. I won't really blame it too much for that. But for the first 5 years, it never even bloomed. And they do get brown rot really bad because you got the smooth skin. They're just not adapted in the hot, humid climate that we're in. And I'm in Southeast Texas. We get a lot of humidity, a lot of rain. This one has blown over somewhat and it's fixing to blow all the way over. It does have gummosis or bacteria canker occurring right here. But like I say, it's a 12-year-old tree. You expect that. That doesn't bother me. It's just the fact it has not been productive. I thought it was going to die the last 3 or 4 years. And so far it hasn't. I keep thinking maybe I need to cut it down. It's almost going to do their job for me. But anyway, Japanese plums, just for me, I've tried a bunch of them. I've tried burgundy, methley, a lot of different plums, and they just didn't do good for me here or when I was in the old house. When I was in Beaumont and I was doing, raising trees in a raised bed, even then they just never would seem to bloom and seem to produce any fruit. So, you know, it's one of those trees that you keep thinking, well, maybe it'll make it, maybe it'll make it. It just never does. The next tree is right over here, very similar. And actually this is a spring satin plum cod, I believe, or aprium, one of the two. But basically any of the Pluots, any of the crosses that you put in, they're just really not adapted, have the same problem except worse as far as setting fruit. Now this one here, like I said, spring satin, at least it doesn't have brown rot as bad. But again, I've gotten 3 or 4 kind of semi-green, because I was afraid something was going to steal it, of the fruit. I think if it ever got to where it would actually ripen, it would taste good, but it just never actually produces the fruit. Again, you know, I give a tree 4 or 5 years without really even thinking anything about it. But just none of them. The only one I've had that has actually made some has been the Gulf Rose, and it makes them really early. I've got 2 more. I got a tree there and a tree over there, but you also have to cross it with the American Beauty. It's not the American Beauty Berry. It's the there's another one, Gulf Rose. It's Gulf Beauty, I believe it's called of it. And you know, it you know, that might work. But you know, after a while you just kind of get frustrated because you get so much brown rot and just don't seem to ever be able to ripen the fruit. What I would like to do sometime is have a Gulf Rose in a pot, but you can't really find them anymore. Have that in a pot and container, maybe be able to do something to keep the frost, to keep the dew off of it. Maybe that would work. But as far as just throwing one in the ground, nah, I'm kind of done with it. The other next tree I'm going to talk about, I don't have them anymore, but I have grown them in the past. One's Barbados cherry, and it's a imitation cherry. I didn't like the fruit at all as far as the flavor. It did produce the fruit, and it's a bush, but also it's not winter hardy. So I know they're selling a lot of them now, and they're calling it a sweet cherry tree, but it's a Barbados cherry. It just never really had the flavor, had that tannin flavor to it. And like I say, you get a cold freeze, it drops into the mid to low 20s, it's going to kill it. So to me, as far as growing it in the ground, it's just a no-go. Very similar, except it's one that's more winter hardy, is a Surinam cherry. And the Surinam cherry, its taste was just kind of, you know, it didn't, it's one of those things, if you ate it, you didn't spit it out. It didn't have that super strong tannin flavor like the Barbados cherry. And some people say I didn't let it ripen enough. For me, it just didn't work. And I was actually growing them in a pot, in a container. I didn't know the Surinam cherry. I had it in a container. We got down that really cold weather, killed everything during Snowmageddon. And I gave it to somebody because I was wanting the pot. So here it is. I had Surinam, and they actually didn't get around to planting anything in it, and it actually started sprouting back from the roots. So it is more winter hardy, but again, the flavor just wasn't there. The next one we're going to look at is going to be over this way. Next one on my list, and I believe the name of it's Arctic Snow, but it's a nectarine tree. Now, nectarines for this particular tree, it will tempt you. As you see, it's putting on blooms right now. Got a little confused. It's low chill. I have made some fruit off of it. Bad part about it, it is a magnet for brown rot. And this is what causes brown rot. It's mummified fruit. You need to take those off the tree because it will spread to other trees. But it'll put on a lot of fruit. It'll look good, but then 3 weeks before it needs to ripen, it gets the brown rot on it, and you lose almost all the fruit. Now, again, we got problems with on the trunk. That doesn't bother me that bad because it is an older tree. It's been here for when I moved here, so it's about 7 years old. They're going to get that. That's going to happen, but it does set fruit, unlike the Japanese plum. I can't ever get any of them to make it. You know, like I said, I would get a few. This tree, I might get 4 or 5 of them that the brown rot doesn't get them, but I think that's just a reoccurring problem. The reason is you got that smooth skin, and with that smooth skin, anytime you get the moisture on it, it's going to want to cause the brown rot to get in it. It's also a magnet for any type of bug that wants to sting it. You got stink bugs, you got the plum cucullio, which puts the worm inside of it. It's hard to get any fruit that's really edible. Like I say, you'll get 5 or 6 maybe, and they taste good. Now, the best fruit I've ever grown actually came from a Snow Queen nectarine. That thing tasted phenomenal. I got 1 fruit off of it, and then the tree died. But that has always wanted me to, I said Arctic Star, it might be Arctic Star, it's one of the two. But it's the low chill of the Arctic series, like 500, you know, so that's not the problem, because some of your nectarines have real high chill hours, so they won't make unless you have a really cold winter. That's not the problem with this one. It's just such disease magnet. I just don't think we're ever going to be able to have any reliable harvest. I got 2 trees of it. I guess I go and show you the other trees over here. And this one's even made less fruit because some of it doesn't. You got trees over here, so it gets shaded. I haven't really taken care of them, so I keep hoping, and maybe this coming year, since I'll be retired, I'll be able to spray more often. But I still think it's just not worth the time and energy to ever get this thing to actually make. Anyway, go next. Number 6 on my list, and this is one that I would say is going to vary, but it's a Jujube tree, or Chinese date. This is actually a root sprout that come from ones. I had 5 or 6 trees. They're very expensive trees. I planted them. I would suggest you try the fruit first. We tried the fruit. Some people love the fruit. A lot of people have described it as being like a dry apple, and I would agree with that. They say you're supposed to pick them in the morning. They'll be sweeter, maybe, but the fruit never came to a level I think, man, I really like this. And I might have given it more of a chance when we thought about drying it and all that, but if you come up here up close, you'll see why I don't like it. It has got some thorns on it, all right? Now, again, this is a root sprout. The actual tree that it comes from was way over here, I think. And I cut it down. And there's root sprouts from here. I had another tree there. There's root sprouts all over here. It root sprouts really bad, and those root sprouts has thorns on them. if you really like it, like I said, there's another one over here. I mowed a bunch of them down, but here's a root sprout here. There's a root sprout there. There's a root sprout there. To me, in our environment, it could even cause a problem. Don't know that, but that's a lot of root sprouts, and they got thorns on them. Every time I've been over and backed up in that tree, I said, gonna cut that sucker down. And one day, that wasn't why I did it at that particular day. It's just I got to looking around at all the root sprouts, says, you know, we're not really liking the fruit, and it's starting to take over the garden. I mean, they're starting to spread out, and it just wants to have a grove. And so I just said, you know, it's not worth it because of the quality of the fruit and the thorns. And the root sprouts, like I say, if the root sprouts didn't have thorns on it, it'd be different. And like I said, we might have experimented a little bit more with, you know, did we like it as a dried, you know, like a prune, something of that nature? Would that be better? We just personally didn't enjoy it. If you like the fruit, yeah, it's probably worth trying. But for us, the thorns and the lower quality fruit, in our estimation, just wasn't worth it. Never plan on planting it again. If anybody needs root sprouts, I've got some. So, but you have to graft because these things won't make edible fruit, basically. Anyway, going on to number 7. This is the one that kind of breaks my heart because I wanted so bad to succeed with this one. I do have one that's in containers, but it's the N33 Navel Orange, and I think all Navel Oranges are going to be that way. They may say that they're good until zone 8. That's a lie. I mean, I guess maybe you could with a lot of protection, but I did a lot to protect this tree. And I had 4 T-posts stuck around here, piled a bunch of leaves over it, and it still died back on me. Now, has it dead yet? No, but this is a rootstock, and it's a good rootstock, it's trifoliate rootstock. And this is it's died all the way back to here's the, if you see the single leaves, this is the Navel Orange. This here is the rootstock, so I need to cut all the rootstock back. But, I mean, we've had some really bad winters, but it seemed like it would get damaged when it started getting in the upper to mid 20s. We get almost every winter we're going to get that, and I just really don't think it's worth it. And it was good in the fact that it's a compact tree. It's not one that gets really big. But to me, if you're going to try to grow this one, grow it in a container, unless you're in like 9B or lower, zone 9B. It's just too close. It's just not cold hard enough to mess with in ground. If you're going to grow in ground in this area, you can go with your mandarins, satsumas, you know, Myers lemon. Those would work a lot better in ground. And even some of the other oranges, I think I got Cara that seemed to be a little bit more, and it could also be where I'm at because this is top of the hill, north is that way, and there's nothing to break that north wind. But and wind chill does have an effect on citrus. It will cause a greater damage to it. But anyway, the Navel Oranges, I don't plan on planting them anymore in the ground. So going on number 8. Number 8 is another citrus. It's called All Your Limes. Don't care which one it is. I don't care if it's Persian lime, key limes, or even worse. There's a reason they're called key limes. Key lime in Florida, it never freezes, okay? Reason I'm standing here is this is one of my most winter tolerant tree. It survived all of our times we dropped down to the 12, 13 degree temperatures. And this is called Jujube lemonade tree, and it's producing a lot of lemon. And it's a sweet lemon that you can peel just like you do an orange, eat it just like you do an orange. It has a mild lemon flavor to it. It's not the best if you're going to try to make it into, you're going to, you know, put a lemon in your tea or whatever. It's just good for eating like you would an orange. Get this one. It'd be a lot better if you can find it. They sell lime trees down here all the time. If you put it in the ground, it is destined to die. It is not going to survive. When you hit 32 degrees, you're going to kill your key limes. And they're not talking about, you know, seeing damage. They're talking about killing it. And if you get down to 30 degrees, I think the Persian lime is killed. We're hitting that every single year. You know, they're just not adapted for here. Now, if you want to put one in a pot and bring it in during the winter time, that's fine. But no, that's what you're going to have to do. And I don't think it's even really good for put it in the pot and take it in and out like the garage or something like I do with some of my citrus. I've got a lot of citrus in there. When we get that one, cold spell that year, which I dip down into the low 20s or maybe even in the teens, I can put them in the garage. With a key lime, you're going to do that several times a year in the wintertime. So I've grown the key lime, I've grown the Persian lime. It wasn't real hardy tree. It could just be the one I had. I didn't have a lot of luck with it. I did make a couple of limes, but I kept it in the pot. But you just had to pull that thing in and out all the time. Never planned on growing it at all, even in a pot. So that was number 9. And we're going to go on to number 10. Okay, messed my numbers up. That was number 8. This is number 9. And this isn't actually one, but it is a stone fruit. It's a peach tree. Your peaches, your plums, Pluots, if it's on a citation rootstock, and that's a semi-dwarf rootstock. You'll see a lot of times I say semi-dwarf. I think it's the only semi-dwarf that I know of rootstock out there. Works great in California, not a problem in the world if you're out there or in any area, but it is very susceptible to bacteria canker. And bacteria canker would take it out pretty quickly. It just doesn't survive well on it. Plus, it is a dwarf. Might want to move over, just leave it this way. It's also a dwarf rootstock. Dwarf rootstocks do not work well down here. We have diseases of every kind in the world, and a lot of times the only thing you can do is try to outgrow it. Kind of like your apples. Don't suggest growing apples down here, but if you want to outgrow the diseases and you're in the right area, sometimes they get some that'll work, but you don't want dwarf rootstocks when it comes to your stone fruits, because you are in your major fruit trees. That's a little bit different with, the trifoliates, kind of a dwarfing rootstock, but I do remember the Snow Queen that I talked about that had the best fruit I ever grew. It was on a citation rootstock. Tree looked good, and I grew it. It had one nectarine on it the first year we planted it. The tree grew about this much, and it was a tree about this tall, had one limb off to the side, and that one nectarine formed on it. It grew. I just started the orchard, so I didn't have the other problems with the plum cucuрлio or even the brown rot, because you can get by with it for 2 or 3 years with the brown rot until brown rot finds you, and then it's going to be a problem from then on. And it really tasted good, had a very complex flavor to it. This is it. This is what I want to grow. And later that summer it died. And when I pulled it up, it had like 1 or 2 little bitty roots about this long. And I'm going, no wonder it died. It didn't have any roots to it. But that was how it would dwarf the rest of the tree. I'm not talking about the actual dwarf peaches and nectarines. I'm talking about that citation rootstock. Just not adapted for this area, and don't ever plant on any tree if it's got that on it. No matter what it is, I'm not buying it. Anyway, now we're going to go on to number 10. Now for number 10, I can go 1 of 3 ways, and I'm going to go one way because I said it's trees that I have planted. Number 10 is probably the one that sucks a lot of people in and down this area, and that is apricots. You're not going to be successful growing apricots in this area. Don't care what you try, what you do. I had one. I did 2 of them. I did an aprium and an apricot, thinking maybe they would cross-pollinate. I grew the aprium. It did. Flora Delight was the name of it. It grew up, and it was one that the rootstock, I guess, was susceptible to brown rot. Bacteria canker. It killed it. It came out, looked good, grew really, really tall, really big, and in 2 or 3 years, very healthy tree. And then it came out. It actually bloomed. I thought, hey, it might get some bloom, and then it wilted and died. But the apricot was even worse because it survived for a couple of years. It would never bloom. And then I found out through the AgriLife extension agent had a speaker come in and talk. He said that A&M at Conroe, Texas, just north of Houston, they had, I think, 5 varieties of 10 different trees apiece, 50 trees. And it's several years ago, so I think I'm remembering it correctly. And they said when they got through, after 10 years of planting them, they had 4 apricots that they made, and they were split. but there's only ones that you had after 10 years, they cut them down. It's just not going to work. They do fine, Central Texas, North Central, you know. The problem is they do bloom too early, but just down here, they're just never going to make it. They're not going to survive long enough. They're going to be blooming in January, kind of like these guys are doing, except they'll completely bloom out. And they're just not adapted for this area. Now, I did not mention almonds, because I never planted almonds. You should not plant almonds if you're anywhere that gets rainfall during the summertime. So you'll see those sometimes in stores. They need way less rainfall than even what your peaches do. The reason they grow them in Arizona and California is because they do not get any rainfall for 90 days after the tree blooms. So they just irrigate them. That fruit will rot on you, it'll split on you. It just doesn't do good. So don't believe the hype. If you lived in El Paso in Texas, yeah, maybe you can grow almonds, but nowhere, once you get any more than 20 inches of rainfall, they're just not adapted. The other one that I've never grown and I've thought about growing is one of the low chill cherries, like the Mini Royal, the Royal Lee, Royal Crimson. They're newer ones. They did have a Jan and a Jim, I think, and they tried to grow those too. From what I understand, and until I see somebody successfully grow them, I'm never going to plant them because they just can't handle this environment at all. You know, they said they would plant them and they could not survive our summers. And said they would start growing, they might get 1 year out of it, they might survive the first summer, but they're not going to survive the second summer. So that's just something you can't get around. And until somebody can prove to me that they can grow it, I'm not going to grow on those. But I haven't planted them, so I didn't include them on the list. But apricots is one that they're not, you'll see them in the stores, they're not going to make. The chill hours are okay, but you know, you're always going to get that really early freeze. They're going to want to bloom in April. I mean, they're going to want to bloom in January. They just have not had any, I've never seen anybody have any success anywhere close to me within 100 miles. So those are off my list also. And I tried to grow one in a pot. And my deal was, well, if they bloomed early, I might be able to put them in the garage and save them fruit that way, but they never even bloomed. So it's not a pollination issue, it's not blooming. But anyway, that's my list. If anybody's had any success in the hot, humid area, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Now the Jujubes, you should have success, it's just the flavor. But anyway, thanks for watching today. Hopefully you learned something. And like I say, leave something in the comments. I don't mind learning from our viewers. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.